Your home may have this type of transitional space too. Maybe you have a porch where people take off their coats and shoes. In our home, before stepping onto the carpet, there is a tiled area. The blueprints would have specified this area to be 6.5 feet long by 98 inches wide. I know I took the measurements myself. If you're a Bible nerd like me, those measurements would have read in the ESV 4 cubits by 5.5 cubits. Transitional space, it communicates you are entering from an outside world where you get dirty, and you're entering into space that is more set apart. This space is different than walking on the dirty ground or the dirty concrete. Transitional spaces in your home reckon with the dirt on your feet. Transitional spaces in God's home reckon with the dirt on your heart. Now for a question. Are transitional spaces in and of themselves that address how someone is dirty, are they offensive? Like if you were to walk into my home onto the tile, would you say, I can't believe this tile is here. I can't believe how you're addressing how my feet are dirty. I don't think you'd respond that way. But for some reason, we think God should accept me as I am. Now, some dirt in my living room or dining room is one thing. The significance of sin in the presence of a holy and righteous God is quite another. So let's raise the stakes for how we're thinking about a transitional space. Before a surgeon enters the space of an operating room, he or she participates in a lengthy process to be free from infection. The surgeon dons a gown, a cap over the head, bootsy over shoes, a mask to capture particles breathed out of the nose and mouth. And no surgeon would ever dare enter the sacred space of an operating room without washing her or his hands. Because dirty hands in the operating room can very much be a life or death issue for the one being operated on. Likewise, sin-stained hands and dirty and defiled hearts in the presence of a holy God. Because sin is such a big deal, it is a life and death issue too. It leads to the death of a sinner. No surgeon, no patient is grumbling about the existence of a transitional space because a lack of purity is a big deal and must be dealt with in the operating room. The transition space in the home of the Lord communicates sin is a big deal and it must be dealt with too. And here's the thing. Areas of transition do not communicate that people who are dirty cannot be present in sacred spaces. In fact, it does just the opposite. It communicates people entering sacred spaces. They encounter the dirt of the outside world. They put their hands and their feet in the dirt of the outside world. They are stained and they need to be cleaned. This transitional space, it is a way to welcome them. In our tour of the tent, this transitional space communicates to dwell with God. You must admit you are dirty. This is not a way to exclude you. It is a way to welcome you in. And entering this transitional space where the altar and the wash basin are located, it is not that the Israelite that has sinned is not welcome, but there is something sacred or set apart about fellowshipping with the person who dwells there, who is holy, that must be addressed. Sacrifice for sin must be made. What makes them dirty must be washed away. God provides a way for people who are dirty to dwell and fellowship with Him. So the altar and the basin in the home of God, they not only communicate His greatness, but that way to dwell with Him has been provided. It's in the blueprints. It communicates the goodness of His home too.